The RBI currently has one goal: defend the rupee at any cost. But this goal has a massive price tag, $90 billion to be exact. That's how much the RBI has spent on defending the rupee by selling forex reserves this year. Despite all these efforts, the rupee fell to its lowest ever last week, 81.26 rupees. But why is the rupee constantly declining? And more importantly, should the RBI stop defending it? Welcome back to Revolution Read On, a daily podcast where we break down one story from the world of business and finance. Click on the subscribe button to never miss an update from us. Here's your story for today. The rupee's fall is directly linked to the US's mission to curb inflation. The US central bank has been constantly raising interest rates to bring down the country's insane inflation. Higher interest rates will mean less money in the economy, which means falling demand, which means lower inflation. This week, it raised interest rates to their highest level since 2008. This means US's treasury bonds, considered one of the safest investment instruments, are now giving the highest returns that they have in a decade. That's why a lot of investors are taking their money out of emerging markets like India, which are riskier, and putting them in the US. This is increasing demand for dollars because that's what you need to invest in the US, and decreasing the demand for the rupee. So the dollar is rising and the rupee is declining. And we are trying to prevent this because if the rupee falls, we have to pay more money to import goods and services, which will lead to trade deficit. But in trying to prevent this, the RBI is aggressively selling dollars to increase supply in the market from our forex reserves. Till now, this policy seemed sound. But now there's a twist to the tale. Our banking system is now facing a liquidity deficit. Huh? Liquidity is the amount of extra money into our banking systems. You see, all our commercial banks store some money with the RBI, which they can borrow in case they need extra funds to give money back to customers. So, if banks are collectively depositing more money than they are borrowing, there's a liquidity surplus. But if they are borrowing more and depositing less, RBI has less money in its reserves and there's a liquidity crunch. Right now, there's a liquidity crunch of 21,873.4 crore rupees. How did this happen? Well, one major reason was RBI's selling of our forex reserves. Plus, this is the time to pay advance income tax, so a lot of companies have withdrawn money from banks. Also, as our economy is now finally recovering, demand for loans is going up. Credit demand has hit a 9-year high of 15.5% in the last week of August. This is further draining money from banks. So, banks don't have enough money and are borrowing more from the central bank, leading to a deficit of funds there. While some of these situations are temporary, our forex spending could further increase the liquidity crunch. So, what if we stopped saving the rupee? While the RBI's attempts to save the rupee make sense because we are a net importer, here's why not saving the rupee could also make sense. The constant headlines about the rupee's fall to a new low may be worrying, but other data indicates that the rupee is overvalued, indicating that the dollar is undervalued. The real effective exchange rate, a metric that determines the real effective value of a currency by comparing its value to a whole basket of other currencies of the rupee, is 103.86. A rear of over 100 means that a country's imports are cheaper and its exports are expensive. And that is bad. Cheap imports means we end up buying more imported stuff, while expensive exports means that other people end up buying less of our stuff. So we end up spending more than we earn. Result? Trade deficit. Which is why maybe the RBI should leave the rupee alone. A falling rupee will automatically reduce non-oil imports and make our exports cheaper and more in demand. In fact, this is how China became a major world exporter. The country tries to keep the yuan undervalued so more people will buy its cheaper products. But won't this increase our oil import bills? Yes, but oil prices are falling right now because of fears of recession, so it may not increase our bill by that much. What's more, the RBI is also set to increasing interest rates again. That, plus the fact that a lot of people are now betting on India to grow while the West faces a recession, may boost the rupee in the longer run. So, burning money to defend it right now, especially when the Fed is single mindedly focused on raising interest rates, could be counterproductive. But that's just the other side to the debate. Saving the rupee also has a lot of benefits and more immediate ones for us, which is why the RBI is hell bent on doing so. Let us know if you think the RBI should continue to defend the rupee or not. And with that, it's a wrap on today's story. Thank you for listening to this episode. We'll be back with more tomorrow.